Hello and welcome to Assume Control, channel about a beginner in D&D and my experience as a beginner playing in a couple campaigns here. Um, as you can see, we're on the character page for Ollie, which is my hunter ranger in my first ever campaign, and we had our first actual session. We had a session 0 if you didn't see my prior videos. Doing a test encounter. And for this session, we had a couple players out, but we continued forth with our campaign with me and a couple rogues as the party for that session. As you can see here on the screen, down to 9 health. It was a close one. A couple of mistakes we'll review here at the end. And then we'll just talk about the session in general. So today's session, we kind of laid out the groundwork for the general campaign, with that being that myself and the rest of the group members are running a sort of encampment or base shop. We have our own little hideout basically in the outskirts of town, in an area where it's a bit lawless. It's not where the affluent individuals are, and it's not where the super poor are. I think it's called like White Town for the affluent, sort of white crystal towers or marble towers and things like that, keeps, and then the soot and dirt of coal and things like that in the sort of slum areas. We're sort of in the tertiary, lawless area, and that's where our shop and general encampment is. And our sort of mission or duty or thing that we did in this particular campaign was help out a fellow shop owner, though it's a brewery owner actually, a gnome named Glow Kindle. He's very flamboyant, colorful person, came over and asked us for some help. It seemed that they were having some work done, and it seemed like there was trouble down in the basement of their brewery. Their workers seemed to have been injured and ran away scared by something that attacked them down there. And so, at a high level, what this session contained was sort of two different fight sections, a sort of puzzle section, and then general exploration. The first fight section, in total, actually, just to kind of get some of the lessons learned, is that in general, this entire thing happened in a sort of cell, and then like a hole in a wall, and then there's sort of like more hallways and rooms within the cell. In the basement, which meant that it was pitch black, which meant that we had to deal with blindness or like dark. It's you can't see anything, and so luckily I had torches, and we had an arcane trickster rogue who could use their mage hand to carry around torches, and myself and that same rogue had owls as our fine familiar, which meant we could kind of look around, get a general layout of what's going on, though the stealth roll did not go well, I think, initially. And so we were revealed very early. I didn't even walk down the stairs yet, but the first section went pretty well. Our assassin rogue, who is ranged base, got hit once, I think, and that was basically it. I think for the most part, we were able to kind of one or sort of combo off each other to kind of eliminate monsters. And they missed. They didn't have great bonuses in this first room, and so nobody other than that one rogue took damage. And before heading into the second room, I was able to cast a Cure Wounds, which was one of my spell slots. And that was, pretty solid overall. We didn't expend anything. We were able to clear out the first room of a few sort of spider rat mutated creatures. again, we didn't really have a chance to buy things. I didn't think to ask if we could buy things before. That was maybe our own fault, but I don't think we had very much gold at the time. Maybe pulled together, we could have bought a potion or two or something, but that wasn't necessarily the dangerous part. Excuse me. That was pretty simple. I think we all got out of there pretty unscathed. I certainly came out of there maybe only taking one hit, dropping down to maybe 30 health or something like that total. Thought we were doing pretty good. And then we got to a puzzle section, which we cleared. And then we got to the last two rooms of this sort of basement dungeon area, which contained a spider, a fire spider sort of creature, and then a scorpion type creature, um, which we were able to lead down a hallway and kind of choke point them a little bit, um, leading them through the puzzle area to kind of take damage from failing the puzzle, basically, because they just sort of walked through the same space without knowing what was happening. They did dodge a good number of times the puzzle's damage. Sort of think of like an axe swinging down through a hallway. And I dropped down to, as you can see, 9 health. It was very scary. We were able to bait the scorpion to attack the spider at one point because they were in a hallway and the scorpion could not pass. And it was angry at myself and the ranged rogue behind me, kind of peppering them from down the hall as I held the spider in place in front of me. And so it ended up attacking the spider at one point out of frustration and anger, which was very helpful. I did mess up and I accidentally consumed the cell slot for my hunter's mark, even though I have free cast. So I could have potentially cure wound myself one more time, which would have been nice. I used one cure wounds and one Zephyr strike to reposition and get the heck out of the way once I dropped to 9 HP. And then I was ready to just sort of all in at the end if I needed to with Zephyr Strike. In the event that the last creature standing made it down the hallway to myself. But it was very close. Not as lucky this time around as compared to our session 0. I think in session 0, I didn't miss a single attack. In this case, I think I missed half my attacks. Just the way the die were rolling, even with advantage, you still got to roll well. It was a little tough. Wasn't as lucky with dodging some of the hits. I mean, there were some 19s, some 22s, things like that. No crits, luckily, but still overall was pretty rough. But I did survive, and we did survive. I tanked enough damage to ensure that everyone lived. In the end, as far as things that I got, in terms of loot, I was able to siphon off some of the blood from the fire spider creature, which I think makes it would be a component in making sort of like a fire potion, sort of like on hit deal fire damage sort of thing. I forget what that's called, but we have one of those, a vial of that. And then also I was able to search a bookcase in one of the deeper rooms, which looked like sort of like a workshop or a study or something like that. And though they were charred from the spiders, the fire spiders sort of existence and it walking around and stuff, I was able to extract a wizard book which contained the following 3 spells: Detect Magic, Identify, and Arcane Lock. And so because we run sort of a shop back in our sort of encampment, can see if I can sell those, which would be fantastic because, again, I'm not a wizard and I do not have the ability to cast those spells, but I certainly have the ability to sell that book and see what somebody else would want. Now, it's a little of bargaining. We'll have to figure out what exactly these can sell for. Maybe I'll look around to see how much it would cost to scribe one of these spells, what level they are, and kind of haggle from there. I did also forget, just thinking about mistakes, I did also forget to apply Colossus Slayer on one of my turns. The turn that I did hit with both my weapons, I forgot to apply that on my scimitar attack. So I need to remember that. Definitely need to remember that. I'm going to need to roll my hit dice to see how much I recover on a short rest. Uh, and I should probably remember that I have Blade Ward to kind of help myself out if I need to just hold a choke point like I kind of was. Serpent Scale Armor certainly helped. Things were getting a little, cutting a little close in there. So, 9 HP, that's pretty scary. I'm pretty tanky, so I'll be glad on the next session to have back our Battlemaster Fighter for sure and our Celestial Warlock to help keep everybody up. That will be awesome. And yeah, that's kind of just a quick recap of what was going on in that last session here. So I think one more session and then we'll end up leveling up either one or two because this is our first session. And I think the intent is that we'll have 3 sessions and then level up or something along those lines. I did use my heroic inspiration, although I'll have it back depending on if we get a long rest. I think we will. But we'll see. Yeah, a lot of missed attacks, and the darkness really made it complicated to kind of navigate. Something I'll have to keep in mind as we kind of go through. Maybe I will take the sort of dark vision spell. I believe that is a spell that rangers get. I'll have to double check. But overall, just a quick recap of what happened. My goal here, if I look at we did get some gold. So I'm up to 45 gold. Okay, so if we look at crafting magic items, I don't remember if it's here or not. Healing potions now, unfortunately. Oh. I have the ability to make scrolls. I don't think I have the ability to make. Yeah, so I can't make any herbalism kits, but I can make some scrolls. I just have to have proficiency in Arcana and have the spell prepared on the day of the inscription. And then any material components, but I think we're just kind of like moving over with that. So I think I can craft. It's going to be cantrips or 15 GP, one spell slot 25. So I can make one spell scroll of Find Familiar, or I can make it of Cure Wounds. Now, taking Find Familiar would be for the long term, sort of stocking up on Find Familiar casts, such that I can eventually, maybe safely switch to the shield spell, and then I can switch absorb elements to something else. As I would prefer to just not take the damage, ideally. Or I can craft I can scribe the scroll to be a cure wounds, or a Zephyr Strike. I don't necessarily mind either one. The cure wounds is obviously maybe more usable, more flexible than the Zephyr Strike because maybe the Zephyr Strike never comes into play. But and that's something I'm actually kind of realizing with being melee and going Zephyr Strike is that if I'm Zephyr Striking to get out, then something maybe has happened, not so great, and I'm needing to back away. But still could be useful. So we'll kind of see how that goes. In general, I think things are going pretty well. I was able to successfully sort of pseudo tank the encounter, multiple encounters. So I think we're doing pretty well. Next level, I'll get that +4 to Dex, giving me an 18 to armor class plus whatever I end up taking as that feat. And then I'll be level 4 ranger. We'll move forward to level 5, get that extra attack, and then that's when we will multi-class over to cleric. But I think that's about it for today's video. Just a quick recap on what's going on. Let me know if you have any thoughts or opinions on what's going on, things I can do to help or cover for my mistakes. And yeah, thank you for watching. And until next time, have a good one.